Well, to sports, Lila Fernandez will be the first Canadian on court as the Australian Open kicks off this weekend. The 21-year-old is the tournament's 32nd seed. Now, she will be taking on 17-year-old Sarah Bejlek of Czechia tonight. Rebecca Marino, Alex Auger-Aliassime, Denis Shapovalov, and Milos Raonic will be also competing in the singles draw. And you can catch all the Australian Open action on TSN. And for more on the Australian Open, we are joined live by Lukas Weese, staff editor of news, that is, at The Athletic. Lukas, good morning to you. I'm sure you're very excited for all of this Australian Open action set to take place starting later tonight, technically. And so what can we expect as far as out of these Canadians? We'll start off with Lila first.
Well, great to see you, Kayla. Thanks so much for having me on. Yes, an exciting time for tennis. The Australian Open is here. The wait is over. And for Lila Fernandez, I'm expecting big themes for the Canadian. She had an incredible end to her season last year, helping Canada win its first ever Billie Jean King Cup. Now, she has a winnable first-round opponent, like you said, but it gets exponentially more difficult as the draw progresses. In the third round, Lila could face Coco Gauff, who, of course, is the reigning U.S. Open champion. And if Lila were to win that match, she would have to potentially play the winner of Naomi Osaka, four-time Grand Slam champion, and Caroline Garcia, who beat Lila last year in Australia and at Wimbledon. So for Lila, it's going to be fascinating because she had this great result at the end of the year last year. Can she translate that to the slams in 2024? It's going to be fascinating to watch.
Yeah, definitely. And another one to watch, too, is also an up-and-coming name in Rebecca Marino. She's a young Canadian now who just qualified as well. And so we'll be keeping an eye on how she does this tournament. But also Felix Auger-Aliassime, how he's been doing, how he's trying to transfer over his success from 2023 into the new year.
Well, it was a difficult 2023 in large part for Felix. That summer, he couldn't win a lot of matches. He couldn't get out of the first round, but he had a better end to the season last year. But for Felix, it's just about getting that match experience. He hasn't played a lot of tennis these last few months. And what a difficult first-round opponent taking on Dominic Thiem, who's trying to come back himself. Thiem and Felix have only met once at the 2020 U.S. Open, where Thiem beat Felix en route to winning his first Grand Slam title. So it's going to be fascinating, but if Felix can win this match against a past Grand Slam champion, I think he gets a ton of confidence that he can use going forward in this tournament and the rest of the season.
Okay, and then some of the other Canadian guys include Milos Raonic as well as Denis Shapovalov. Denis speaking of struggling, he definitely struggled in 2023, seeing his ranking drop, I believe, to 109 it was perhaps, but there's no doubt, though, that Denis is looking to bounce back in 2024.
For sure. And for Denis, of course, he injured his knee at Wimbledon, so he missed a lot of last summer. And for Denis, it's just about getting back on court. He's excited to be back. He, of course, played last week in Auckland, his first match back since injuring his knee in Wimbledon. So for Denis, it's just about getting that match experience as well. I think for him, it's just about getting more tournaments under his belt. But expect big things, I think, for Denis once the hard court season kicks up at the early this year, and then, of course, into the summer hard court swing where he's had success in previous years.
So, Lukas, any predictions for the Australian Open as far as to kick off this year for a lot of these Canadian athletes? Who do you think is going to do well and who might get eliminated early?
Well, for me, I think Lila Fernandez is one to watch. I think what she did at the end of last year, winning the Billie Jean King Cup, Canada's first in its country's history, I think she is hungry to get back in the mix. She, of course, made the final of the 2021 U.S. Open just a few years ago. So I think for Lila to regain that confidence that she had a couple of years ago, she has the most favorable draw of all the Canadians. The Canadians did not get the best of luck this tournament, Kayla, in terms of easier first-round opponents. So I think Lila has the best chance out of the Canadians to advance deep in this tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. But outside of Canadians, though, just for tennis fans in general, definitely going to be a great Open. And, of course, as far as on the men's side goes, number one going into this is Novak Djokovic.
Of course, who is going to end Novak Djokovic's reign at the Australian Open? He hasn't lost there since 2018, so it's hard to predict or bet against Novak Djokovic. But look, Carlos Alcaraz beat Djokovic at Wimbledon last year. You have Daniil Medvedev, who's had success on the hard courts. And then Jannik Sinner. Jannik Sinner arguably had the best end of the season last year, of course, culminating in winning a Davis Cup for Italy. So I really do think that there's going to be challengers, but Novak Djokovic loves Melbourne. I think he's hungry to continue to add to his Grand Slam title.
All right, lots of exciting stuff. And of course, Canadian fans can check out all of the Australian Open action on TSN. Lukas Weese, staff editor of news over at The Athletic, thank you for your time as always.
Thank you, Kayla.